One evening changed everything. Jake, a devoted boy, learns that his fiancée, Leah, is planning an open life with the boss while he waits for her to return. But Jake is not one of those sitting back. He disappears from her life, leaving her in a panic when her ideal plan collapses. Will Leah be able to regain control, or has Jake already found true happiness? Jake Thompson, a 27-year-old financial analyst in Seattle, had always been the guy who planned ahead. At his desk, surrounded by spreadsheets tracking investments and savings goals, he found comfort in numbers. They were predictable, unlike people. For 3 years, he'd been building a life with Leah Carter, his 26-year-old fiancée, a marketing coordinator with a knack for turning small ideas into big campaigns. Their relationship felt like a well-balanced ledger, shared dreams of a house in Capitol Hill, weekend hikes, maybe even kids someday. Jake wasn't just in love, he was invested. That Friday, Jake surprised Leah with a plan. "I booked us a cabin in Leavenworth for next weekend," he said over dinner at their favorite taco joint, his voice brimming with excitement. "Just us mountains, no Wi-Fi. What do you think?" He leaned forward, expecting her usual enthusiasm for their getaways. Instead, Leah poked at her food, her eyes fixed on her phone. "Sounds nice," she mumbled, scrolling through notifications. "But work's been crazy. I'll let you know." Jake's stomach tightened. This wasn't the Leah he knew. The woman who once planned spontaneous road trips and laughed over late-night budget talks had been slipping away since she started her new job at Spark Vibe, a flashy marketing agency downtown. Spark Vibe handled campaigns for tech startups and luxury brands, and Leah had been thrilled to join their creative revolution. But with the job came a shift. She'd started staying late, citing networking drinks or client brainstorming sessions. Her stories revolve around her new boss, Eric Sullivan, a 35-year-old entrepreneur who drove a sleek electric car and preached about living without limits. "Eric says the best ideas come when you're free to explore," Leah said, still glued to her phone. "He's got this whole philosophy about not tying yourself down too early." Jake nodded, trying to keep the conversation light. "Sounds like he's got big plans for the team. How's the new project going?" Leah's eyes lit up, but not for Jake. "It's amazing. Eric's leading this huge campaign for a tech startup. He's so inspiring, you know? Always pushing us to think bigger, live bigger." Jake forced a smile, but the word inspiring landed like a punch. He'd heard Eric's name too many times lately, always tied to some grand idea about life or success. Leah used to talk about their future. Now it was Eric's philosophies, Eric's adventures, Eric's vision. Jake pushed the thought aside, telling himself it was just new job excitement. He'd been through enough late-night talks with Leah to know she could get swept up in a moment. This would pass. But it didn't. Over the next week, Leah's distance grew. She canceled their usual Sunday brunch to catch up on work and spent evenings texting, her phone angled away from Jake. One night, he glanced at her screen while she was in the shower and saw a message from Eric. "You're too vibrant for limits. Let's grab drinks tomorrow and talk big ideas." Jake's heart sank. He wasn't the jealous type, but the words felt personal, like a jab at the life he and Leah had built. He didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, he doubled down, planning a romantic dinner to reconnect. The dinner was a disaster. Jake had cooked Leah's favorite, grilled salmon with herb sauce, and set the table with candles, hoping to spark the old magic. But Leah barely touched her food, her attention split between her phone and vague complaints about feeling stuck. When Jake asked what was wrong, she sighed. "It's not you, Jake. It's just work's opened my eyes. Everyone at Spark Vibe is so free, so alive. They don't lock themselves into one path at 26. Jake set his fork down, his voice steady but tight. "One path? Leah, we're engaged. We've been planning a life together. Is that what you mean by locked?" Leah's eyes darted away, her fingers twisting her napkin. "I don't know. Eric thinks people who settle too young miss out on discovering themselves. He says relationships can hold you back if you don't explore other possibilities." The room went quiet, the weight of her words settling like a storm cloud. Jake leaned back, processing. "So, you're saying you want to explore? What does that even mean?" Leah hesitated, then met his gaze with a rehearsed calm. "I think we should try an open relationship. Date other people, see what's out there. It doesn't mean we're over, just evolving." Jake's mind raced. He saw the subtext. Leah wanted to test the waters with Eric while keeping him as a safety net. He thought of the late-night texts, the way she lit up talking about her boss, the subtle digs about his predictable life. "And if I don't want an open relationship?" he asked, his voice low. Leah shrugged, almost casually. "Then I guess you'll wait and see what I decide." The entitlement in her tone hit Jake like a slap. 3 years of shared dreams, late-night talks, and sacrifices reduced to a placeholder role while she chased something better. He didn't argue or beg. Instead, he stood, cleared his plate, and said, "I need to think about this." Leah nodded, already back on her phone, oblivious to the shift in his resolve. That night, alone in their shared apartment, Jake made a decision. He wasn't going to be Leah's fallback plan. If she wanted freedom, she'd get it, without him in the picture. By morning, he'd blocked her on every platform: Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, even the budgeting app they shared. He changed his relationship status to single and deleted every trace of their 3 years together. It wasn't just a breakup. It was a complete erasure of access to his life. Jake wasn't playing her game. He was rewriting the rules. Jake Thompson woke up the morning after blocking Leah Carter from his life, expecting regret to hit. It didn't. Instead, a strange calm settled over him, like he'd finally closed a tab that had been draining his battery for months. The Seattle skyline outside his window felt sharper, the city buzzing with possibilities he hadn't noticed in years. At 27, he was done being someone's safety net. Leah wanted to explore. Fine, but she'd do it without him waiting in the wings. By noon, Leah's reaction began. Jake's phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. He let it go to voicemail, already suspecting it was her. The message confirmed it. "Jake, why am I blocked everywhere? Are you okay? This isn't like you." Her voice carried a mix of confusion and panic, as if she hadn't expected him to act so decisively. He deleted it without responding. Over the next few hours, texts from unfamiliar numbers piled up. "Leah," clearly trying to bypass his blocks. "We need to talk. You're overreacting." He ignored those too, focusing instead on a new spreadsheet. His own life, recalculated without her. At work, Jake threw himself into a high-stakes project, analyzing investment portfolios for a tech client. His focus impressed his boss, who noted, "You're on fire this week, Thompson." Jake didn't mention the breakup, but the clarity it brought was undeniable. He wasn't just moving on, he was reclaiming his energy. Meanwhile, Leah's attempts to reach him escalated. His co-worker, Sam, mentioned a weird LinkedIn message from Leah, asking if Jake was going through something. Sam laughed it off. "She sounded desperate, man. What's her deal?" Jake shrugged, keeping it vague. "We're done. She's just figuring that out." Leah's desperation took a bolder turn by Wednesday. Jake's roommate, Kyle, texted him during lunch. "Your ex just called our landline." "Landline? Who even uses that?" "She's freaking out, saying you've disappeared." Jake smirked, picturing Leah scrambling to regain control. She'd built her narrative around him, waiting patiently while she chased her boss, Eric Sullivan. His total blackout had shattered that script. Kyle added, "She even asked if you were like having a breakdown. I told her you're fine, just not her problem anymore." That evening, Jake hit the gym, a place Leah had always avoided. Mid-set, he spotted her through the glass doors, hovering near the treadmills. She was pretending to stretch, but her eyes scanned the room for him. Jake grabbed his bag and slipped out the back exit, heart racing not from fear, but from the absurdity of it. She'd gone from suggesting an open relationship to borderline stalking in less than 48 hours. The front desk later told him she'd asked about his workout schedule, claiming to be his concerned girlfriend. They shut her down, citing privacy rules. Jake couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction. Her plan was unraveling faster than she could handle. Meanwhile, Leah's world at Spark Vibe was starting to crack. Jake heard through Sam, whose girlfriend worked at the agency, that Leah had been distracted at work, missing deadlines and snapping at colleagues. Her obsession with Eric was becoming obvious. She'd linger in his office, dropping hints about their connection, only to be brushed off as Eric turned his charm toward a new graphic designer. "She's telling everyone she's evolving her life," Sam relayed. "But it sounds like Eric's already moved on." Brutal. Leah's next move came Friday night. Jake was at a bar with Kyle, unwinding over beers, when his phone lit up with a text from their mutual friend, Mia. "Leah's at my place, crying. Says you ghosted her, and she's worried you're spiraling." "What's going on?" Jake sighed, typing back. "She wanted to date other people. I let her. That's it." Mia's reply came quickly. "She's saying it was a mutual break. That you needed space too." Jake shook his head, amazed at Leah's ability to rewrite reality. Not mutual. She chose this. I'm just respecting her decision. The lie didn't hold up. By Saturday, word spread among their friend group. Leah had been spinning a story of a thoughtful pause in their relationship, but Jake's silence and her increasingly erratic behavior, new Instagram accounts to check his stories, calls to mutual friends, made the truth clear. She wanted to keep Jake on hold while she chased Eric, only to find both slipping away. Mia texted again, "She's a mess, Jake. Keeps saying she didn't mean for things to go this far." Jake didn't respond. Instead, he signed up for a hiking club through his company, something Leah had always dismissed as pointless sweating. The decision felt impulsive, but right. On Sunday morning, he joined a group trekking Mount Si, the trail's steep incline matching his need to push forward. Among the hikers was Emily, a 28-year-old veterinarian with a sharp wit and no patience for drama. She asked Jake about his work, genuinely curious, and shared stories of her clinic's chaotic but rewarding days. For the first time in weeks, Jake laughed without forcing it. Emily didn't check her phone once during the hike, a stark contrast to Leah's constant scrolling. As they reached the summit, Emily pointed out a hawk circling above. "Look at that," she said, her voice warm. "Free, but it knows where it's going." Jake nodded, feeling a spark of something new. He wasn't ready to jump into anything, but Emily's grounded presence was a reminder. There are people out there who value connection over chasing fleeting thrills. Back in Seattle, Leah's spiral continued. Sam's girlfriend reported that Leah had confronted Eric at a team meeting, asking about their future in front of colleagues. Eric, unfazed, had laughed it off, saying, "Leah, we were just having fun." The humiliation was public and swift. Leah's work suffered. She botched a presentation for a major client, and whispers of her demotion started circulating. Jake didn't gloat, but he couldn't ignore the irony. The woman who'd called their life limiting was now trapped by her own choices. By week's end, Leah tried one last desperate move. Jake found a package at his apartment, a coffee mug from their old favorite cafe, with a note, "I miss us. Can we talk?" He donated it to a thrift store without replying. Leah's actions had shown her priorities: attention, validation, control. Jake was done funding her chaos. As he laced up his hiking boots for another weekend with the club, he felt lighter. The numbers in his life were starting to add up again, and this time, they were all his own. Jake Thompson's life was starting to feel like his own again. 2 weeks after cutting Leah Carter out of his world, the 27-year-old Seattle financial analyst was finding rhythm in his new routine. His mornings were spent crunching numbers at work, where his focus earned him a nod for a potential promotion. His weekends, once filled with Leah's whims, now belonged to the hiking club, where he was building friendships with people who didn't see stability as a flaw. The absence of Leah's chaos was like a weight lifted, and Jake wasn't looking back. Leah, however, was spiraling. Her plan to explore with her boss, Eric Sullivan, while keeping Jake as a fallback had backfired spectacularly. Jake's total disappearance, blocked on every platform, silent to her calls, had thrown her off balance. She'd expected him to wait, to beg, to play the loyal partner while she chased her spark vibe fantasy. Instead, he'd erased her access to his life, leaving her scrambling to regain control. By Monday, her panic escalated to new heights. Jake's co-worker, Sam, relayed the latest from his girlfriend at Spark Vibe. Leah had been caught crying in the office bathroom, her phone filled with unsent texts to Jake and Eric. "She's a mess," Sam said over coffee. "Keeps telling people you're having a breakdown, but everyone's starting to see through it." Leah's desperation turned reckless. She showed up at Jake's office building during lunch, lingering in the lobby with a coffee cup, pretending to be on a call. Building security, familiar with Jake's situation after her gym stunt, texted him a heads up, "Your ex is here again. Want us to handle it?" Jake, mid-meeting, replied, "Please ask her to leave." No contact. Security escorted her out, but not before Leah tried to slip a note under Jake's office door. "I made a mistake. Please talk to me." The receptionist tossed it, per Jake's instructions. He wasn't playing her game. At Spark Vibe, Leah's obsession with Eric was imploding. She'd pinned her hopes on him, believing his live without limits mantra meant a future together. But Eric, the 35-year-old agency hotshot, had already shifted his attention to a new designer, leaving Leah humiliated. During a team pitch, she snapped, interrupting Eric to ask about their connection in front of stunned colleagues. His response was cold. Leah, let's keep it professional. The room went silent, and Leah's face burned as she realized she'd misread everything. Sam's girlfriend texted him later. She's done at the agency. They're moving her to grunt work, social media for a pet store chain. She's furious. Leah's next move was bolder and more unhinged. Late Wednesday, Jake got a call from his building security. A woman claiming to be your girlfriend is in the lobby, demanding to see you. Says it's urgent. Jake's jaw tightened. She's not my girlfriend. Please remove her and document it. Security reported Leah's outburst. She'd yelled about Jake, owing her a conversation, before leaving in tears. Jake filed a formal complaint with the building management, ensuring her future visits would be flagged. He wasn't cruel, just done. Leah's actions were her own, and he refused to be her emotional punching bag. Meanwhile, Jake's hiking club was becoming his sanctuary. On Saturday, he joined a trek to Rattlesnake Ledge, where he bonded with Emily, the veterinarian he'd met the previous week. She was refreshingly direct, sharing stories of her chaotic clinic days and asking Jake about his work with genuine interest. Over trail mix, she laughed about a recent case, a parrot that swore in Spanish. And Jake found himself opening up about his love for numbers, something Leah had always mocked as boring. Emily didn't roll her eyes. She asked questions, curious about his process. For the first time in months, Jake felt seen. As they descended the trail, Emily mentioned a trivia night her friends were hosting. You should come, she said, casual but warm. It's low-key, just good people and bad puns. Jake hesitated, then nodded. I'm in. The invitation felt like a step forward, not just from Leah, but toward something real. That night, at the trivia bar, Jake met Emily's crew, vets, teachers, a software engineer, all grounded, all present. No one was chasing clout or quoting their boss's life philosophies. Jake answered a finance question that clinched their team's win, and Emily's high five lingered just long enough to spark a smile. Back at Spark Vibe, Leah's downfall accelerated. Her demotion to managing pet store posts was a blow, but her behavior made it worse. She'd been caught using work hours to stalk Jake's social from fake accounts, even messaging his co-workers with sob stories about his mental health. When a client complained about her missed deadlines, the agency issued a formal warning. Sam's girlfriend reported the gossip. Leah's telling everyone she's taking a personal growth break soon. Translation: they're pushing her out. Leah's final gambit came Sunday night. Jake's phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. Leah, her voice shaky but calculated. Jake, I know you're upset, but I'm worried about you. Everyone says you're not yourself. I just want to help. The manipulation was clear. Paint him as unstable, guilt him into contact. Jake didn't bite. Instead, he forwarded the message to his therapist, Dr. Chun, who he'd started seeing to process the breakup. Classic deflection, Dr. Chun said during their next session. She's projecting her chaos onto you to avoid facing her own choices. Jake left the session with a clearer head. Leah's tactics weren't about love. They were about control. She'd expected him to crumble, to chase her, to validate her choices. Instead, he was thriving. His savings account was growing without Leah's constant emergencies. His promotion was on track, and Emily's trivia night had led to a coffee date planned for Tuesday. Jake wasn't rushing into anything, but the contrast was stark. Emily valued him for who he was, not what he could provide. As Leah's world crumbled, Jake's was expanding. He heard through Mia, their mutual friend, that Leah had moved back to her parents' place in Portland, her Spark Vibe dreams in tatters. She keeps asking about you, Mia said. Says she didn't mean to hurt you, that she just needed space. Jake shook his head. She didn't want space. She wanted me to wait while she chased someone else. I'm done being her backup plan. Mia nodded, her silence telling. Leah's narrative was collapsing, and the truth was catching up. Jake Thompson's life was gaining momentum. A month after severing ties with Leah Carter, the 27-year-old Seattle financial analyst was hitting his stride. His promotion at work was all but confirmed, with his boss praising his laser focus on a major client portfolio. Outside the office, the hiking club had become his refuge, a place where he could breathe without the weight of Leah's drama. His coffee date with Emily, the veterinarian, had turned into regular hangouts, trivia nights, brewery visits, and quiet walks along Puget Sound. Emily's grounded humor and genuine curiosity about Jake's world felt like a reset button he hadn't known he needed. Leah, meanwhile, was drowning in the wreckage of her choices. Her dream job at Spark Vibe had imploded. After her public meltdown over Eric Sullivan, the agency demoted her to managing social media for a pet store chain, a far cry from the luxury campaign she'd bragged about. Her obsession with Eric, who dismissed her as a fling, had cost her credibility. She'd been caught skipping work to stalk Jake's socials from burner accounts, and her latest stunt, showing up at his office building, had led to a formal ban from the property. By mid-month, Spark Vibe let her go, citing unprofessional conduct. Leah, now 26 and jobless, packed up and moved back to her parents' house in Portland, her bold evolution reduced to a childhood bedroom. Jake heard the news through Sam, his co-worker, whose girlfriend still worked at Spark Vibe. Leah's telling everyone it's a temporary reset, Sam said over lunch, grinning. But word is she's been calling old colleagues, begging for freelance gigs. Nobody's biting. Jake nodded, unsurprised. Leah's pattern was clear. Rewrite the story, dodge accountability, and expect someone to bail her out. He wasn't that someone anymore. Leah's desperation took a darker turn. Jake's phone buzzed with a text from their mutual friend, Mia. Leah's posting weird stuff online. Says she's lost everything and keeps tagging you in private stories. You okay? Jake checked his blocked accounts and saw nothing, but Mia forwarded screenshots. Leah's posts were cryptic, hinting at regret and loneliness, with one saying, "Some people throw away what matters most and don't even realize it." The subtext was obvious. She wanted Jake's attention, maybe his guilt. He didn't engage. Instead, he sent Mia a quick reply. "I'm good." She made her choice. But Leah wasn't done. She started contacting Jake's family, spinning a tale about his sudden isolation. His sister, Claire, called him confused. Leah messaged me on Facebook, saying she's worried you're not coping with the breakup. Said you've cut everyone off. What's going on? Jake sighed, explaining the truth. Leah's push for an open relationship, her fling with Eric, his decision to go no contact. Claire's tone shifted from concern to disgust. She's acting like you're the problem? Wow, I'll shut that down. Claire blocked Leah, warning their parents to do the same. Leah's next move was bolder. Jake was leaving work when security texted. "She's back. Try to get into the parking garage. We've called the police." Jake's stomach churned, not from fear, but from the sheer audacity. He stayed late to avoid a scene, learning later that Leah had fled when officers arrived. The incident prompted Jake to file a restraining order, a step he'd hoped to avoid. His therapist, Dr. Chun, supported the move. "You're setting boundaries, not escalating," she said. Her behavior is about control, not love. While Leah's life unraveled, Jake's was blooming. His hiking club planned a weekend trip to Olympic National Park, and Emily invited him to join her friends for a campfire dinner. Around the fire, Jake shared stories of his latest project, and Emily teased him about his nerdy love for spreadsheets. Her friends laughed, but it was warm, inclusive. Jake felt a connection he hadn't with Leah in years. No eggshells, no pressure to perform. Later, as they walked to their cars, Emily paused. "I like this," she said, her voice soft but direct. "Hanging out with you. It's easy." Jake smiled, his guard lowering. "Yeah, it is." The contrast was stark. Leah had seen Jake's stability as a cage. Emily saw it as a strength. Their coffee dates turned into hikes, then dinners, each one deepening their bond. Jake wasn't rushing. He was still healing, but Emily's presence was a reminder that relationships could be mutual, not a one-sided chase. Leah's final gambit came via package, a journal they'd once shared, filled with old-date ideas and dreams, with a note. "I know I messed up. This is who we were. Can we try again?" Jake read the note, then donated the journal to a thrift shop. The gesture wasn't sentimental. It was manipulative, a reminder of a past Leah had discarded. He texted Mia, "Tell Leah I wish her well, but we're done." Mia replied, "She's not taking it well. Keep saying you're her biggest mistake." At Spark Vibe, the gossip was relentless. Sam's girlfriend reported Leah's firing had become agency legend. She showed up at Eric's place last week, drunk, yelling about promises he never made, she said. He got a restraining order too. She's radioactive now. No agency in Seattle will touch her. Leah's parents, overwhelmed by her spiral, pushed her into therapy, but she resisted, still blaming Jake for her downfall. Jake, meanwhile, was thriving. His promotion came through, boosting his income and confidence. He started volunteering at a local animal shelter with Emily, where her passion for saving strays shone. One afternoon, as they cleaned kennels, she laughed about a dog that ate her shoe. "You're handling this chaos better than I would," Jake said, impressed. Emily shrugged. "Chaos is fine when it's honest. I'd rather deal with a chewed shoe than someone who doesn't show up for me." Her words hit home. Jake was starting to see what real partnership looked like. As Leah faded into her consequences, jobless, back in Portland, isolated from friends who'd tired of her drama, Jake was building something new. He wasn't gloating, but he couldn't ignore the justice of it. Leah had gambled on a fantasy, betting Jake would wait. She'd lost, and he was done paying for her choices. Jake Thompson stood at the edge of a new chapter. 6 months after cutting Leah Carter out of his life, the 27-year-old Seattle financial analyst was thriving. His promotion had boosted his career, his hiking club had given him a new circle of friends, and his relationship with Emily, the veterinarian, was growing into something solid. Their dates, hikes, trivia nights, volunteering at the animal shelter, felt effortless, built on mutual respect rather than one-sided effort. Jake was learning what it meant to be valued, not just needed. Leah's world, meanwhile, had collapsed. Fired from Spark Vibe for her unprofessional obsession with her boss, Eric Sullivan, she'd retreated to her parents' home in Portland. Her attempts to manipulate Jake back into her life, lobby visits, cryptic social media posts, even contacting his family, had failed. The restraining order Jake filed after her office stunts kept her at bay, and her former friends, exhausted by her drama, had distanced themselves. Therapy, pushed by her parents, was her last resort, but Leah still clung to the narrative that Jake's refusal to engage was the root of her problems. The final showdown came at their mutual friend Mia's wedding in Tacoma. Jake arrived with Emily, their relationship now official after months of steady growth. They were laughing over a shared joke when Jake spotted Leah across the reception hall, arm in arm with a nervous-looking guy named Brad. She was flaunting a massive ring, introducing Brad as her fiancé, with a forced smile, her voice loud enough to draw attention. Jake recognized the act. She was staging a comeback, desperate to prove she'd moved on. Emily squeezed his hand. "That's her, isn't it?" she whispered. Jake nodded, unfazed. Let her play her game. Leah's performance didn't last. Brad, clearly uncomfortable, kept checking his phone, barely engaging as Leah dragged him around to greet guests. When she spotted Jake, her eyes locked on him, and she steered Brad toward their table with a determined stride. "Jake, good to see you," she said, her tone overly bright. "This is Brad, my fiancé. He's launching a tech startup." Brad mumbled a greeting, avoiding eye contact. Emily, ever gracious, smiled. "Congrats on the engagement. When's the wedding?" Leah faltered, her confidence cracking. "Oh, we're still figuring that out. Brad's super spontaneous, right, honey?" Brad nodded weakly, excusing himself to the restroom moments later. The charade unraveled when Leah cornered Jake near the bar, while Emily chatted with Mia. Alone, Leah dropped the act, her voice low and urgent. "Jake, I need to talk to you. Just 5 minutes." Jake shook his head. "Not a good idea, Leah. We're done." Her eyes welled up, and she pulled off the ring, her hands shaking. "It's fake. Brad's an actor I found online. I thought if you saw me happy, you'd realize what we had." Jake stared, stunned by the lengths she'd gone to. "You hired someone to pretend to be your fiancé." Leah's voice cracked. "I messed up, Jake. Eric used me. The job was a lie, and I threw away the best thing in my life. I see you with her, and it kills me. Please, can we try again?" Jake stayed calm, his resolve firm. "Leah, you didn't just make a mistake. You chose to treat me like a backup plan. 3 years meant everything to me, but you decided it wasn't enough. I moved on." Leah grabbed his arm, tears streaming. "I was stupid. I thought I needed more, but I need you." Before Jake could respond, Emily appeared, her presence steady. "Everything okay?" she asked, her tone neutral but supportive. Leah froze, then backed away, slipping the fake ring back on. "I should go," she muttered, hurrying off to find Brad. Emily turned to Jake, her expression a mix of concern and admiration. "You handle that well. Firm, but not cruel." Jake exhaled, grateful for her calm. "She's still trying to rewrite the story, but I'm not part of it anymore." Emily nodded, linking her arm through his. "Her loss. Let's get back to the party." They rejoined the wedding, dancing and laughing, untouched by Leah's chaos. The aftermath came through Mia a week later. Leah's engagement stunt had backfired. Brad, The actor had left early after Leah couldn't pay his full fee, and guests had overheard her breakdown, spreading the real story. Leah's social media went silent, and her parents confirmed she'd finally started therapy, admitting her obsession with Jake and Eric had spiraled into self-destruction. She took a part-time job at a small Portland marketing firm, a humbling step back from her Spark 5 days. Jake, meanwhile, was building a future. He and Emily got engaged 3 months later. Their proposal quiet but real, a moment shared on a hike, with no need for stage performances. At the shelter, they adopted a rescue dog, a scrappy mutt they named Scout, cementing their partnership. Jake's family, once confused by Leah's lies, embraced Emily, who brought warmth without drama. His sister, Claire, summed it up. "You look like yourself again, Jake. Happy." Leah's last attempt to reach Jake came via a text from an unknown number. "I heard you're engaged. I hope you know she'll never love you like I did." Emily saw it first, deleting it with a laugh. "She's still trying to get in your head. Good luck with that." Jake grinned, unfazed. Leah's words were empty, a final grasp at relevance in a life that had moved on without her. The moral was clear. Love isn't a game of keeping options open or manipulating someone to stay. It's a choice, made every day, with mutual respect. Leah learned the hard way that treating someone as a fallback comes with consequences. Jake, now 28, had found peace in a partner who chose him fully. As he and Emily planned their future, he knew he'd never settle for less again.